to Holding the Light on Intention Radio. This is Linda Chasteen, and woohoo, here we are. This is a show that is a magical show, as they all are. This show is supposed to run, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, whenever the full moon was, which I think was, I don't remember. I should pause this and look into that. Yep, I'm right. This is running on the 25th, and the full moon, I want to say, was the 12th. So this was supposed to run on the 11th. Intention Radio has been having some difficulties, and I think that is in keeping with everything that is happening with the energy, the a little bit crazy and fun energy of the universe that we are redefining and coming from a more authentic place. And often when that happens, it requires a breakdown of what came before. And I think we're seeing that. And so there was a bit of a delay. I think we're back on track now. And I know I am setting an intention that we continue to provide wonderful light spreading and holding in the face of all the difficulties. And so all is very well, and I just had to stop the show and go take some children who were deciding they wanted to play some very loud drums and readjust their perspective about how drums sound when one is recording a radio show. So I'm back now. You probably didn't even know that I left. But anyway, today's episode is with a magical, he seems to be pretty regular here, but I really think it's very important because of the energy. Kasimir Kurt. Yay! We love Kasimir. And there's a little bit of a shift. Yes, we're talking about the energy, and there's definitely still that, I'm going to say, challenging energy that we're trying to make fun. But in this particular show, we start talking with a little bit more depth about things that we can do to offset that energy. And I'm just going to kind of jump to next week's show and say, I interview Tony Guy Parker, and he is all about something called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and tapping. And so I was just really struck by the serendipity of going from talking with Kasimir, who's really channeling some very important energy, to, here, try tapping. Have you ever? And I never had. And it's become quite a magical addition to all the little tricks that we can try to release the energy that challenges us and help us get to a healthier place. So here's the thing we're going to start with. A song. We always do. You know that. And this song was introduced to me by my daughter, Nicole, and it is called Fix Me by a group called 10 Years. And what I love about the song is two things, really. The song really kind of sends a message of finding joy, finding satisfaction in those moments that we would perceive as darker. And the other thing is, there's no need to fix anybody. We don't need fixing. That we're already perfect and wonderful beings. We're divine sparks and spirits. And now it's raining. In that regard, it kind of reminds me of the Bon Jovi song that I played at the very beginning of my radio shows in existence. And that is Welcome to Wherever You Are. Right here, right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So we don't need fixing. There's nothing broken here. We're totally in our divine state, beings of perfection. And so part of that is learning to make the most of those moments that challenge us with darkness. So have a listen. It's a beautiful song. It's called Fix Me, and it's by a group called 10 Years. Yay! That was 10 Years. That's the band name, and the song is called Fix Me. And I think it's the perfect lead-in to listen to our latest installment of hearing the channeled wisdom of Kasimir Kurt, whose information will be posted on the Holding the Light page as usual. And so without further hesitation, let's go and give a listen. Yay! Woohoo!
All right, everyone, yay! Welcome to Holding the Light on Intention Radio. This is Linda Chasteen, and I'm here with a magical guest who has really become one of my wonderful return guests, and that would be Kasimir Kurt. Yay, Kasimir, welcome!
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Yay! So you will recall that Kasimir and I last talked right around the full moon in Okay, so now it's going to be July. So in June, and we talked a lot about the shadow self and going to those places. And what I love here is that we're almost like doing monthly updates. You know, the energies that are affecting everyone are still there, and yet they're changing, and so our responses are changing. So Kasimir, thank you so much for sitting with me again this month and really kind of keeping everybody aware of what's going on. I really appreciate that.
Oh, with pleasure. We are all in it.
We are. And so now, why don't we touch base? You know, again, I love that we're doing this kind of by the light of the full moon. So, you know, and you're so intuitive and so magical this way. What do you see happening with the current energies and how it's affecting us and all that good stuff?
Well, I see that there are huge peaks of energy at this moment, to the extent that people cannot handle that energy so well. They're drawn back in their childhood fears and pains, and I see a lot of numbness, especially today. Mm-hmm. People tend to go into the mind space and don't feel as emotional. This even happened to me this morning. I was like, really? This must be a great update. I was actually not feeling so much of my body and starting to get quite mental. So when you start rather to think about things than to feel them, then everything becomes more like an intellectual story than a lived experience. And I was actually asking my body what's behind this, and because it's a protection mechanism from your body. And I was seeing that there was so much old childhood stuff coming up. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And once I went out of the door and I looked around, I was like, okay, we are all in this, you know. Sometimes, depending on your astrological sign in the astrology, you have certain signs which are more drawn on certain dates to their own shadow work than others. But this is a general thing. So there's a huge download coming down, and it's actually purifying our light bodies and putting our nose into our shadows yet once again.
You know, I must admit, here in New York, because remember Kasimir is in Germany, I feel the same thing. I feel like the energy that I have been walking with has just been even more, you know, and I do feel almost in some regards like I've been taking steps backwards. But then I was reading, because there seems like there's a lot of people chiming in about this, and I was reading one article that said, if right now you're feeling like you're walking in mud and moving backward rather than forward, that means you're right on track, because that's how you're supposed to feel when the upgrade of the energy is going on, because you really are kind of getting rid. I feel like we say this a lot, but it's true. Like if you're feeling disoriented and if you're feeling like your energy is off, that's good. That's what's supposed to be happening when this energy
Definitely. And this time it's really intense. It hasn't been that intense the last time. It's really like you feel your worst than in your worst moments. Like all your worst issues come up, and basically your self-talk, quote unquote, your ego mind isn't the nicest in these days for most of the people. It's really, really, really interesting. If you had some injuries, those places are going to hurt these days. You're really going to kind of like feel bad about yourself if you're not knowing that you're the awareness who is observing all these processes.
Yeah, that's really hard, though. I mean, I try. I know what's happening here. I'm going to stay distant from the energy so that it doesn't, but it's hard not to get swept up. It's almost like a wave that kind of just takes you away, you know?
Exactly. This is also the fire exit, I call it. When you're really having too much and you really, really cannot handle it, and you have to, quote unquote, function in a daily situation just for a short meeting or something. Just recall that you're actually the one observing all this happening to your body, and the one who is talking in your mind to yourself. It's actually just your ego or your body awareness who is trying to do a good job for you, but doesn't really know how to kind of like get you out of the situation.
Right, and so how do we do it then? How do we get? What can we do to get out of it, or do we just have to kind of?
It's like a roller coaster. It's funny because I'm somebody who's somewhat afraid of heights, and I don't particularly enjoy fast activities. The children's swings from the playground are somewhat fast for me, let's say it this way. And the universe brought up the opportunity to ride at Hyde Park in those huge roller coasters, and I've never been on big roller coasters in my life. And we started with the biggest one. Let me tell you, that was an experience. I did even a Facebook post about that one. But I'm telling this because once you're in this thing, there's no going out. Mm-hmm. And so one thing you can do is close your eyes and scream your heart out. And the same is with this life and those upgrades, basically. When the astrology comes, you can clean your energy bodies with meditations, which take a few, like visualizations, which take a few minutes, or lay down for 5 minutes. But basically, it's an upgrade which is supposed to be experienced. So even the fire exit, which I was mentioning earlier, is only an emergency solution for short periods of time. It's not recommended to really step back and say, yeah, this is all an illusion, this is all the Maya, this is all a hologram, and actually it's not me who is suffering.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm just pure awareness, I'm just God consciousness, so to speak.
Well, golly jeepers, though, how much longer is this going to go on? Doesn't it seem like we've been saying this for a while? Like, oh, the energy is very strong, and oh,
really, it sounds like we're always going back, but this is the thing, because it's circular. It always expands in circles. And that's also why we feel like we have reached a point where we're at the same point again, and we're like, we didn't progress. Basically, we're just getting to a similar point with a further distance, and then we have another opportunity to kind of clear out some of those denser energies yet again, feel more, be more psychic, become more psychic, and just get to know us deeper, because we're infinite beings.
All right, everyone, time for a commercial break amidst all the crazy energy that we're talking about. You are listening to Holding the Light on Intention Radio, and this is Linda Chasteen. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, welcome back to Holding the Light on Intention Radio. This is Linda Chasteen, and I am talking with Kasimir Kurt about all of the wonderful and enjoyable transitional energies that are currently populating our field. So let's get back to it. Yay!
So, but, you know, and this, again, my listeners have followed all of this so closely because I know they're all feeling it too. If I'm experiencing these things again, and I really have been like, okay, here we go again, it's happening again, and I know that it's happening, this doesn't mean that I'm doing anything wrong. This doesn't mean that, like, I'm not, like, eating the right food, or, like, do those things have an effect on it?
They do, and actually it's very interesting, because there are a few ways to deal with those situations, or to kind of smoothen the experience, and people, as I look around me, tend to do it naturally. They have an inherent body intelligence. And I also want to touch about how you can ask your body to do certain things. And actually only by asking your body to do certain things, he will just put those programs in motion, and they work. For example, the Feel Better program, or what kind of emotion is below that numbness program, and then you might feel all those shadows in a quite intense fashion. But okay, before I go into this, people tend to eat fried food. So when you feel like you cannot handle it at all, some people say fried foods are really, really bad for you. Well, I tend to agree. I don't like fried foods at all so much. But when the energy is really dense, and I watch people's vibrations, and they're like in fear and desperate, and they really don't know how to handle those emotions, which is not such a good state to be in, and they eat a portion of fries, or they watch a movie and they eat some chips, the energy really settles down, and they are at okay to good.
Well, right. I read, and it's funny, in that article, just as you were saying that, that's what popped into my head. It was an article about ascension symptoms or something like that. I'll have to post a link of it because I really felt like it was a cool article. But that's what it said. If you feel like you want to eat like foods that are unhealthy and foods, like even from your childhood, that's a comfort thing. You know, like you want to feel safe, you want to feel familiar. And so to go back to those times, that can be reflected in your eating habits. I thought that was really an interesting thing that some people might notice happening.
Oh, definitely. And I would say if somebody chooses to do that, best choose vegan foods like potato fries, or just some kind of like chips or something that go along with a movie, something that is funny and comforting and distracting in some way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the other way. Either it's the way feel it and accept it and allow it, and if it's not the right way for this person, it's the other way. It's 1 or 2 hours of distraction. Yeah.
So what are some other intuitive things that are popping into your head about this energy? Anything else? Or?
Oh, yes. There's one thing everybody can do after work or just on the way home. Just take off their shoes and sit in the grass and touch the grass with the hands and the feet. Not only the feet and not only the hands, and really relax and let your body weight sink into nature. And allow this stiffness and allow those feelings to move into the earth.
How long do you do that for?
Just a few minutes. anything, you feel it immediately. Of course, you can do it for 15 or 30 minutes or even an hour, like laying in the grass and sitting in the grass, but most of us don't have that time. So only 2-3 minutes are enough to really feel better, to get actually all those negatively charged ions into your body, which repair your body and rejuvenate your entire organism, but also to get rid of all this electrosmog which has been accumulated into your body, and also all those energies and denser frequencies which are just being stirred up by those updates are going into the earth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I said this the last time, but I have a confession. I've been hugging trees a lot lately.
That's a very good thing to do.
Yeah, like just well, and this is, I think, a great transition to what you and I decided we were going to talk about. I set an intention that all of the energy that's coming up, I definitely don't want to keep it. And I definitely just ask the tree if it will take, and then funnel it through my palms, my feet, everything like that. And I can feel it. Like there's that reciprocal relationship where the tree gives us oxygen and, we give the tree what it needs. And when it takes my energy, it feels like a very cool and positive thing for the tree too.
Oh, definitely. The earth and the tree are loving it. They're like antennas, and it's almost like the exchange rhythm on Earth, which is kind of like necessary for the coexistence. Yes. It's almost like oxygen for us. They want those frequencies.
Right, and that's what I feel like. And I just really feel like that balance, that keeps me in balance. It helps me take away the stuff that might be clogging, getting to the lighter energies. So I've been doing it. So everybody, it's okay. I know sometimes people look at you funny, but go try and hug a tree.
Definitely, and you can always find a spot which is not so much on the roads.
Yes.
So basically just a little bit behind a corner or something where nobody sees you, so there you can be more comfortable.
And you can
swimming is also great. Like if you have 10 minutes to swim in a lake, it does the same job.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah, with the benefit that water is even more aligning than earth. It's even a higher vibration. That's why I love in winter to walk on ice surfaces. It's such a benevolent feeling to have the frequency of water beneath you.
Well, this is very cool because for some listeners it is becoming winter time right now, because I'm all in the summer mode, but I know some of my listeners remind me like, hey, it's cold and snowy around here, so that's a great suggestion.
It's amazing, and you need to do it barefoot to feel the vibration and the benefits for your body. Of course, when you have the only a few minutes to spend in nature, I would suggest to take off your shoes and really touch the ground with your feet and hands and do it intentionally and really be aware, or at least visualize those energies moving in it if you cannot feel them yet.
Yes, and
most likely you'll be feeling them. And if not, well, you benefit from it anyways. If you are only outside, even if you wear your shoes on a lake or close to a tree, those energy fields are interacting.
Well, and what I really love, I love the progression that you and I are sharing here right now, because these feelings of the shadow, these old feelings that are coming back up just to kind of go away, they create a feeling of powerlessness. But what we're talking about, like just going out into nature and releasing, that gives you personal power back. That's a choice that you can control once you recognize the effect that the energy is having on you.
Definitely. You always have some kind of, I call it like steering a vehicle. It's not even a control. At a certain speed, the vehicle just does what it does, but you can kind of like steer it in some direction. I like to have that analogy with energies, because some energies are really, really powerful.
Yes. And I guess that's the great movement. How do we help people to feel that power and to understand that they are in control of the vehicle? What do you think?
Well, there are different approaches in different ways. I would say the more grounded of a person you are, the more I would go into toning and vocal toning. And I did a few videos on that. I did, for example, a chakra cleaning meditation with mudras, hand gestures, where you chant a certain sound and you create a certain vibration in a certain body area, which loosens up that area, the glands, and also a visualization at the same time, which cleans the chakra, and this makes you feel better almost instantly. So this is for the more grounded individuals, and for those who are like a little bit more spiritually open, they have the visualization part, which is also very easy to do, where you basically move up and down your chakras And it's almost like a vacuum dust cleaner in a very silent and benevolent way. A ray of light which comes in and spins your chakra and cleans it. The color gets a little bit brighter and the spinning movement gets a little bit faster.
So,
and you really relax when you do it.
So you made a video about this?
I made a few videos about this, and it's called the Mercury Retrograde series. But I can shortly explain the method. Actually, the visualization isn't that difficult.
I would love that if you did that.
Well, okay, I guess many people are familiar with the chakras, but just to sum up for those who just tune in for the first time, I would say basically you have 7 basic chakras. So one is just between your leg and the color is red, and one is on top of your head. They're the single chakras, quote unquote, and is violet. And you can imagine those chakras like a vortex of energy or like a blossoming petal of flower. And all those other chakras which you have, those 5 other chakras, have a part in front of your body and a part behind your body. And they always spin clockwise. So when you look at in front of a person, they spin clockwise, and when you look at the back of a person, they also spin clockwise. So if you see them from the side, they seem to spin in the opposite direction. But this is not so important. Spin them in whatever direction you feel is right for you. Some say that women spin in a different direction than men, and what I've observed is for most of the situations, they spin clockwise. And the colors of the other chakras, for example, the second chakra is located just below and around your navel and on the same spot on the back of your back. And the color is orange. And basically they stick a few centimeters, sometimes even more, out of your body. And they have different diameters, but this is not so important. You can just imagine some kind of like beautiful flower petal there. And the third chakra is basically just at the end of your rib cage, and it's yellow, and it's called the solar plexus chakra. And the heart chakra is just in the middle of your chest, and it's green, and the solar plexus chakra is yellow. And the throat chakra, basically, it's just not really in the middle of your throat, just a little bit down where your bones are, the clavicle bones, how do you call them?
Yep, collarbones.
The collarbones, okay, that was French. I mix those languages sometimes. And the color is almost teal. And you have a part in front of your body and a part in the back of your body. And your third eye chakra is just between your eyebrows, actually. If you want to have the exact measurement, you can take your thumb and the index finger, and you place your thumb on your chin and your index finger on your nose, and you take exact that distance from your nose to your forehead, and then you know where your individual third eye is. But anyways, this is based on sacred geometry. And the third eye chakra is violet, blue, indigo blue / violet. And it also has 2 spots. That's why I was quoting the single chakras. But most of you already know those chakras. So the essence of that visualization is that you have this light beam which comes and almost absorbs everything and transmutes and dissolves all the blockages and negative feelings you have in that area. And you want to stay there with that visualization till you feel a warm sensation in that area. And this happens most cases like in 30 seconds or 1 minute. But sometimes you need a few seconds per chakra, sometimes you need a few minutes. It depends on the situation. Of course, you can do that visualization for an hour if you want to, but this is more emergency visualization, and you just have this visualization that basically this light beam is going through your chakras and just spinning them faster and cleaning them, and the color gets a little bit brighter. I would suggest to use natural colors, like the red as closest to the red of red color of nature, and the yellow, and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. Because when you choose neon colors, it works very well, but it's a little bit softer. So when you want a fast change, better use natural colors.
Sally, so this is a good way to just kind of keep all of your energy vortices clean, huh?
Definitely. And this was also more like the how-to technical explanation. This wasn't a guided meditation for all of those listeners who would be wondering, like, okay, this was maybe a little bit difficult to follow through.
But do you have on your video, do you have the guided meditation?
No, I haven't made guided meditations yet, but in the video you see me and I make hand gestures and I show the mudras, and I'm going to make some guided meditations in the future.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
But yeah, so you have the basic explanation there, and because it's a video, it's easier to pause. I mean, this will also be recorded, so you can pause it and take a few notes here and there.
Yeah, so that's a great idea to just kind of get in touch with. That's another empowering way to clean out some energy that might not be making you feel very good. So.
And it's really, really quick. It's surprisingly quick. And you can do it everywhere. You know, you can do it in the bus, you can do it in traffic jam, at work, in the lunch break.
Yay! Lots of new stuff to think about with all of this energy in the air. And now that my kids are all like walking around and making a lot of noise, I'm going to run away and take a commercial break. You're listening to Holding the Light on Intention Radio and anything else you might hear. And I'm Linda Chasteen. God. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Holding the Light on Intention Radio. I'm Linda Chasteen, and we're going to continue on with our interview with Kasimir. I'm just about to start talking about a new take on energy that I have realized on my own energy path and my own spiritual walk. So it's very interesting stuff and all very powerful. So let us continue.
Yeah, this is something new that I've been thinking about with energy lately. You know, I think people believe that energy work has to be like slow, contemplative, you know, like you have to kind of not rush it, but energy moves very quickly. And I really have become very aware of that lately. Like, you know, some of the things that I've been learning about and even what you're talking about now, it can be done quickly and you can still take care of the energy issues without getting all like, I'm gonna slow things down. You know, I think it's an interesting parallel to the way that energy moves, you know, especially like the sound of light and all that good stuff.
Mm.
So, all right.
Yeah, you also have breath work. You always can do a few breathing exercises, which are also very, very aligning. Shaking out your limbs and inhaling and exhaling fast. Or just a deep inhalation and a deep exhalation.
Okay. All right. So, what was the story that you were talking to me before we started recording about apple juice?
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, those energies have been so intense the past days. It was like, and I was like, okay, I have all those options. What am I going to do? Am I going to tone? Am I going to lay on the bed? Am I just allowing it? What options best for me? Oh, with this little catalog of inventions or stuff, kind of discoveries by my side. I was like, okay, no, I want to do something way more conventional. Just like, okay, let's have a movie night. So we're choosing those nice kind of like comedies and getting some vegan potato chips. It's not that easy actually nowadays to find vegan potato chips. You might think, okay, they're just potatoes, but no, they always make some milk powder, mix it in it and whatnot. And we're getting some sparkling apple juice and ice cubes. And we're just sitting there and eating, I don't know how many thousand calories. and watching those movies and actually laughing and laughing and laughing. And this was easing up so much energy, and I was like, this is really interesting. I was normally never kind of like movie nights or eating potato chips or something, and then I was actually seeing the benefit of doing it once every, I don't know how many months. It's different for everybody. And actually it was really, really relaxing, and it's also common practice. I mean, people practice it quite often.
Yeah, I love this story. I mean, did you just have an urge? You know, you were feeling like this energy and you suddenly were just like, yeah, I think I need to watch some funny movies and drink some sparkling apple juice and eat potato
Well,
chips.
actually, it was my lovely girlfriend, because I was having this feeling and this idea, and I was like, just thinking. And then she was like, hey, how about movies? And I was like, wow, hey, maybe that's just the right thing.
That's great.
And so, yeah, this is how it happened. But I also want to mention manifestation and in correlation with movies, because this is something that many people have maybe not paid attention or realized it. I said something beautiful not a long time ago. I said actually the difference between a psychic and quote-unquote a non-psychic is just to the degree that they admit that they touch on their subconscious and the collective subconscious of the humans.
Huh. You mean, do you mean tapping into the collective, their ability to do that?
Yeah, and of course you have your guides, you have those energy patterns, and you have your soul mission, but basically psychics touch on what's going on. for the greater collective and for the deeper individual on subconscious level. And this is the entire thing about enlightenment and becoming more aware. It's actually getting to know your subconscious and making it conscious.
Bringing the subconscious to the conscious level.
Exactly.
And so this is something that's very cool too, because what is the difference between the individual and the collective energy?
Well, the thing is, we have like this frequency upgrade going on the Earth, but then we have some physical laws. For example, New York is not quite at the same spot than Berlin, and so on and so on. So it might be a little bit different because the clouds are not the same, and the angles to the stars. So you have this 3D part, which is bound to some physical laws and gravity and whatnot, and moon phases, But you have the collective subconscious vibration, and you have the thought patterns that are stuck in this collective subconscious. And actually, as those energies hit those thought patterns and all those old feelings and dense experience come up. So basically, the collective subconscious doesn't really change so much no matter where you are on the planet. There are, of course, like group consciousness, subconscious, like in every country has their story, and it's somewhat in the culture, it's somewhat in the language, and it's somewhat in the subconscious and a little bit in the conscious. This gets really, really interesting if you dive a little bit deeper and you realize it actually in your day-to-day life, or if you work with language translations. And you see how those dots are really connected.
Right, and I also think that part of that collective upgrade is the rejection of many, many old structural paradigms in the world, governments and, the old fear-based belief systems that have held many prisoner. They're starting to be brought to the light and rejected. Do you see that?
Definitely. There's a big part of rebellion, but there's also actually a beautiful part about new kind of creationism and seeing the spot for everybody and doing tasks because we really like to do them. So it's not all about breaking the old and kind of like rebelling against, I would say, like some kind of like dictatorship, quote unquote, the monetary system or what else.
Well, I'm just thinking about, and I know it's been a big thing that's happening in the United States, is the LGBTQ community, gay and lesbian rights. That is a rejection of the old belief that, that they don't have rights, that they can't be married, and that, it's not just a legal thing. It's we have the right to love who we want to love, and as long as we're not hurting anybody, that's a magical celebration. And 10 years ago you couldn't say that and have a collective societal acceptance of that idea, but that tide, it's the turning of the tide is what I'm talking about. Like old things that were very limiting are now kind of going away, and we're opening more, and we're letting more love in, I think.
No, definitely, and I like those legal systems slowly. Basically, it's exactly how you said. It's as long as you don't do harm to anybody, just feel free to follow whatever you feel intuitively guided to, or what you love to do, or love whoever you want to love. That's amazing, and I love to see that it gets more legal everywhere, that those organic corporations and supermarkets are sprouting everywhere.
Yes.
And it's just beautiful. And but I guess I was just we were sliding a little bit off topic here when I was talking to Reflecting Reality and how those movies influence actually your part of creation and creating the default. Do you want to touch on this?
Yes. I think
okay, because this is really interesting. And the subconscious and the collective subconscious, exactly. That's where we were getting a little bit, making a little turn. Basically, the reason why I don't watch movies is because I'm quite aware of my subconscious and my manifestation skills. And most of the people are better manifestors than they would admit themselves. And so what happens when people watch a movie, there are so and so many images per second, and all those images have an emotional connection and meaning to your subconscious. And they get actually stored there. And so you start to manifest what you saw in those movies. And so it's highly advised to watch happy movies and nice movies, not to manifest something that is not so nice. But also, when I watch a movie, I just go out of the cinema and I have the main frequency of the movie around me. I'm like, okay, interesting manifestation. And sometimes those manifestations last if I don't change them for a few hours or even for a day. And there it gets really, really interesting, because how food is a vibration. And for example, eating those potato chips, which I normally never do, I was seeing all kind of people who practice those movie nights on a regular basis around. And it's really, really interesting. See how your lifestyle shapes your body and your behavior and everything, but also spiritually, energy-wise, when you choose to do a movie night and you never do a movie night 1 or 2 days in a row, you meet people you would never have been seeing in the city because you were not a vibrational match to those people.
So your vibration gets altered and realigns with different people.
Exactly, but to such an extent that it's really out there. You cannot not see it. It's like people are buying chips all around you. People are more kind of like a fluffy nature and are really loving movies, and you don't see those people jogging around anymore. And as soon as you start to jog, for example, you're going to see those runners all around you.
Yes.
And this is interesting because I really like to mention that people are not so aware yet how much they create of their own reality by default. And there's a really, really beautiful thing because it's happening all the time and you can help it with conscious creation.
Yes.
But the more energy you hold and you have, the more you can create on purpose, if you want so. The more joy you bring into a subject, the more pleasure you have for a wish, and the more you let it go, the faster it manifests. But also I want to mention that there's a big part already happening, and it's just enough to pay attention to this part which is happening to actually see and start to play with those little things. Convince yourself that it's really you who is doing this.
So, you deliberately and consciously decided you were going to change your environment and you were going to have a movie night, and you attracted a different group of people than you would have if you were running. This makes good sense.
Yeah, but not only running, but I mean to not only in this night. This is something that lasts for 1 to 3 days.
You watched movies for 3 days?
No, I two movie nights. And this is interesting because this is actually the 3rd day, and they were not successive. There was one break in between those movie nights. And so it's really, really interesting to see what's around and how this affects. And also, I've seen how the universe is mirroring you, but not only you, but also your desires and wishes to give you kind of like a preview of what you have been wishing for, which is really interesting. For example, when I was somewhat like very fit and skinny, I was always surrounded by some kind of like curvy and more muscular people. And I was like, okay, because I was trying to put on weight on a raw vegan diet, or like a vegan diet with lots of salad and little olive oil, which was almost impossible because I burn a lot of calories with all the stuff I do. And so I actually had this wish, I would like to put on a kilo. And I was seeing all those people which are very healthy and muscular, but those people were not vegans. And it was quite interesting to see that reflection. Or for example, just a reflection of what's going to be next in 1 or 2 weeks when you continue on that path.
And so then what happened though? Did you start to gain weight?
Well, this is always the thing. I was so convinced that I couldn't gain weight. And I guess those chips were about 4,000 calories or something, or 5 for 2 people. And I was like 3 liters of sparkling apple juice with ice cubes and 4,000 calories of chips. I work out, I do stuff, I move a lot, I burn a lot of calories with my brain and my vocal cords and whatnot. But I was seeing that I was actually putting on some weight. I was like, this is fabulous, this is amazing. The only thing, the one thing I thought I could never do, I can do. And now I understand those people better. I was like, oh my God, this is like fraternizing with all those people. I'm like, it's amazing. It's actually that simple. You just need to change your eating habits in some kind of like passionate movie eating habits, and you put on some weight. You want to lose some weight, you just stop that stuff and you go eating salads and buckwheat and olive oil and avocados. And you lose that weight. I was like, wow, this is fabulous. So I was having this realization, and then I was seeing it in the universe. I was like, there's an even bigger mirror going on than I thought. And a nicer mirror with more different levels. Because the thing with me is I'm always so fluent that, see, for example, I'm putting on, I don't know, 500 grams of fat or 800 grams of fat in 2 movie nights, if you want, so with those 4,000 calories, but they don't stay, you see, because I change vibration so quickly.
Right.
I can, it's really hard for me to stay in one vibration.
Alrighty, it's time for our last commercial break, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this magical discussion with my beloved friend Kasimir Kurt, and you are listening to Holding the Light on Intention Radio. I'm Linda Chasteen, and we'll be back. Okay, let us now finish up our interview with Kasimir Kurt, everyone. You are listening to Intention Radio, Holding the Light, and I am Linda Chasteen. Yay, here we go.
Sally, I want to ask you about the movie night. So what you said before was when you go to see a movie and you're bombarded with all of the imagery, that either we absorb it and it triggers, energies from our past or that are within our subconscious. Can we set an intention before we watch the movie that we will not absorb anything, that we're just going to process the movie from a more remote place and not absorb anything? What do you think?
Well, it's possible, as it is possible to walk on water, but it depends where you are at. If you're really knowing that you can walk on water, it's possible.
Yeah.
If you're somewhere in the middle, that you're not there where you can levitate, but you're there where you can heat up your body parts and heal your body parts and this stuff, you will eliminate a big part of it. But you still have a 3D body, and there's still some kind of general rule set, like I like to call it, that applies to a certain extent. So I would say better choose happy movies and see how even one happy movie a week or a month or a year really changes the frequency. And maybe see if there's not some nicer alternative. I was actually not liking movies so much before, and I don't think that I'm going to watch a movie anytime soon, but I was like, hey, this was just perfect for that moment.
Sure, yeah, and that speaks to you just going with your flow, and I think that's awesome. I love that, to honor that, to not have any expectations and just be so open that when your spirit was saying, let's do this, you went with it, and there's good benefits for that.
Well, definitely. I guess it's the only thing, if you really want to be happy, to really listen from moment to moment what is feeling right for you. For example, you might even decide to watch a movie with a friend, and then when you just start to see the movie, you get this weird feeling. Just listen to that. Just tell you want to go, I don't know, dancing, play frisbee, or go swimming.
And all of these wonderful things happen when we're open. I love that. It makes me very happy.
Definitely. And we communicate those feelings. I get it. It always gets down to the very, very essence. Like, you're a powerful creator into this holographic universe. And you can change a lot of things with your energy and your creation. But you're also just here to enjoy the delight of being in physical body and just be as fluent, like as how should I say it, fluent, basically, like liquid, flexible as possible into this dimension and follow your emotions. And everybody has emotions. I mean, some bury them a little bit deeper than others, but everybody has a sense of, this feels good, this gives me joy, this doesn't give me so much joy.
Right. I have to tell you, you're making me think of something that happened to me the other night. So it's almost like your apple juice story, but not quite. And my son, who is about to turn 18, just graduated from high school. So I don't know, I'm sure you know. Yeah. So we went to the graduation ceremony, which was outside in the field of his high school. And the sun was beating down on us. And the sun was going down, but still there were some really prolonged moments where we're all just baking in the sun, and I was like, I got this. And it's funny because you mentioned changing the weather, because I've been reading a lot about that we can control clouds and things. I was like, yes. Kids, don't worry, I got this. I'm going to make a cloud go right in front of that sun. And it's so funny because we can laugh about it, but I know, and I couldn't do it, Kasimir. I mean, I tried.
It really works. It's most of the time I'm so humble that I don't do those things, but yes, we can.
I know it. I can feel that I have that capability, and I know I was doing something, but it really wasn't working. And then I got a little down on myself, see, you can't do it. So I think that's all part of it, just like you and your movie night and your apple juice. We're trying new things and we're going with the flow. And I stopped myself. I was like, no, you're not going to be mean to yourself because you didn't make that cloud go front of the sun.
Well, sometimes nature has bigger plans than the individual will of the creator, because this is a co-creative hologram, if you want. So if 30 people have created that specific scenario, and one says, okay, I want sunshine, and the other says, I want rain, well, most likely it's not going to work out in this construction plan of those 30 people.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good point that I hadn't thought about. I just was thinking, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to put a cloud right in front of the sun.
Well, you can always try. I mean, as long as it comes from love, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes, and to have fun. And I think this is a great way to bring this episode to a close, because you know that you're going to come back next month, don't you? Didn't you know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to.
And I think next month we're going to talk about those more specific and very powerful ways to talk about manifesting and to give people an even greater sense of personal power. But I just really feel like, you know, the energies can be very heavy. The tendency is very real to get negative about it. But if you can just remember to try and have fun, as I did with that silly little cloud, which P.S. got smaller and moved away from the sun.
This is when you want something too badly in manifesting. You see, the whole trick is to actually visualize something, put a nice feeling, and let it go. When you try to really make it happen and you really want it, it's going to turn in the opposite of what you wanted. Or there's a little kind of like don't play with it.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. So I would love for us to be able to talk about these ideas next month. Perhaps during the full moon again. So if you would come back and talk to us.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, great. So, Kasimir, once more, for the new listeners who might not have caught your other shows, P.S., Kasimir has, go back and check the archives of Holding Light, because I'm just so blessed when he comes and sits and talks with me. But tell everybody how they can reach you, the things you've got going on, and all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, thank you. That was so sweet. Okay, well, you can reach me through my website, which is Kasimir'sLightworks.com, or on Facebook, which is Kasimir Kurt, and or on YouTube, which is also Kasimir Kurt. So basically, yeah.
Okay, so I would encourage everybody to go and, especially it's such great supplemental information that you're going to get there based on what we've talked about today. There's just so much wonderful energy waiting for you there.
Oh, yes, and you can get some real-time help if you want to, with some energy work or some intuitive coaching or some intuitive sessions.
Awesome! That's very cool. So everyone check it out. And Kasimir, anything else you want to say to everyone?
Well, I would say, if today is an intense day and it's hurting, like, just remember we're all in it. We all feel there's nothing wrong about you, and it's actually a sign that you're on the right way, and there's going to be more room for love and appreciation after this. It's just like a, I don't know, a spring cleanse of the house or something.
Yeah. That's quite a spring cleaning we've got going on here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Kasimir, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, with pleasure.
Okay, everyone, we will be back. You're listening to Holding the Light on Intention Radio, and this is Linda Chasteen.
Oh, boy, yay! I do love talking to Kasimir Kurt, and I am so glad, and I can't wait. I know he's going to come back in August and talk to me sometime, so we'll wait and see where the energies are then. Now, I want to remind you that next week's show is a great progression from what we talked about tonight, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but it's all about what's called emotional freedom techniques, also known as tapping. And in a nutshell, it's like tapping on different parts of the meridians, those little energy lines in your body. And my guest is Tony Guy Parker at the Newberg Healing Arts Studio. And it's really such an easy, like he even does like a little tapping thing to show you what it's like. And it's really such a wonderful way to release some of the energy that might be challenging you and that you're getting ready to release. Because that's what I feel like. I feel like that we're getting ready to release all kinds of good, get us to good places is what I guess I'll say. Okay, and the tarot pull for today, pulled by young Gary, my twin son, who just happened to be around and said, I want to pull this card, is Major Arcana, the Temperance card. Yay! And so ATA Tarot is a place to go if you want to see a picture. Temperance is an angel, and the angel has 2 cups in her hand and is pouring water from one cup to another. There's 1 foot in a body of water, and of course an angel is a representative of the sky, that, the heavenly energy. And so temperance is all about balance. And this is what I love. I think this is the perfect card. We are finding our footing. We may have felt a little bit off center because of all of the energy that is coming to visit us, so that we can release it. And temperance, it's two things. It's showing us that we're on our way to being balanced, and showing us the importance of allowing ourselves to have those moments. It can't, without the dark, we can't appreciate the light, that kind of thing, that duality, that two different sides of the coin. That's what's all here, man. So I feel like this was a really great show, because we're kind of moving more toward balance in our walk with this energy that, especially at the full moon, got a little crazy. So everyone, I wish you a wonderful week. I wish continued wonderful light holdery and continued good health for Intention Radio. And I will talk to you next week. I love you all, and shine on, beloved peeps.